I mean, can you sue people? Have you tried doing any of that?
No, I mean we have a lawsuit with a guy who made like 3,000 videos. Again, if you're gonna critique stand up or my fight picks or my football picks, all good. That's what the internet's for. Now, if you're gonna go out there and defamation, like whatever, Brendan hits his kids or beats his wife, well, then you got my attention. I'm gonna come after you.
Oh,
yeah, that game I don't play, and the guy's suffering from that, But the defamation, now you got my attention. You start doing this evil stuff, I'm going to come for you, man. That's what's happening.
Yeah, when they mess with your livelihood, that's just going.
You start messing with my business, my family, trust me, I'm going to come for you.
Well, that aged like milk, didn't it, Brendan? Ladies and gentlemen, Bappa the business shark has officially lost his 2-year lawsuit against YouTuber Kyle Swindelles, ending in a summary judgment against Brendan Schaub. I'm going to take you guys through all the juicy details from the court filings, explain why he lost, what the judge said. I'll break down the timeline as well, show you how Brendan almost won at one point, but then failed miserably. Story of his life, huh? I'm also going to show you a few clips of Brendan discussing the lawsuit over the last 2 years, including his appearance on Tiger Belly with the whole Bobby Lee and Kalila drama. So sit back, relax, and enjoy the show. If you're a regular of this channel, thanks for joining me. You guys are the best. But if you're new here, consider hitting that subscribe button and becoming a regular as well. I'll be uploading a few videos this week because there's a lot going on at the moment, so you don't want to miss out on any of my uploads. Now, for those of you who have no idea what this lawsuit is about and how it started, here is a very brief overview. In February of 2022, Brendan business shark Schaub filed a lawsuit through his company Thick Boy Productions against YouTuber Kyle Swindelles, also known as Uniqueness. Brendan claimed that Kyle unfairly used clips from the Fighter and the Kid podcast in his commentary videos without Brendan's consent, therefore constituting a copyright violation. However, as we all predicted, Brendan would ultimately fail in his pursuit to bully and intimidate Kyle, resulting in a summary judgment against him, ending his 2-year lawsuit. United States District Judge Mary McElroy concluded, weighing the factors together with the instant circumstances, the court concludes that Mr. Swindelles' use of the copyrighted material is fair. 3 of the 4 statutory factors weigh in Mr. Swindelles' favour, and Mr. Swindelles' use of the copyrighted material serves as a public benefit. Because Mr. Swindelles' use of the copyrighted material is fair, the plaintiff's motion for summary judgment is denied, and the defendant's motion for summary judgment is granted.
You son of a bitch.
And so, how did all of this start? Kyle had a YouTube channel making videos criticizing and commenting on Brendan's life and, in particular, his appearances across his podcast network. But Brendan didn't like this. He felt that Kyle's videos were too personal and crossed the line. For example, apparently Kyle, like many others, had drawn attention to Brendan exchanging numbers with other girls while being a married man. So on February 15th and February 16th, 2022, Brendan issued DMCA takedown notices regarding 4 of Kyle's videos. These videos had an approximate runtime of 4 to 8 minutes and contained roughly 50% commentary and 50% clips from the Fighter and the Kid podcast. Specifically, the episodes were 725, 726, 729, and 740, all from September and October of 2021 with durations well over an hour. Now, due to YouTube's 3 strikes rule regarding copyright notices, Brendan's DMCA takedown notices resulted in YouTube completely deleting Kyle's channel, which had approximately 20,000 subscribers at the time. But this is where it gets interesting and a little bit technical, so I'll do my very best to explain. In the United States, you don't get an automatic right to copyright of your work. You actually have to register it. In some other countries, if you take a photo or a video of something, you automatically have copyright over it as soon as it comes into existence. But in the US, for some reason, you have to register your copyright over that work. So when Kyle hit back at Brendan 3 days later with a counter notification to the DMCA takedowns, he actually caught Brendan off guard. See, the way it works is if you're a copyright holder, sure you can issue a takedown notice like Brendan did, but then if the other party hits back with a counter notification, which basically says I don't agree with this takedown, the copyright holder, which was Thick Boy Productions in this case, then has 10 days to prove to YouTube that they're actually taking legal action. And this is the interesting part, because so many people claim that YouTube's copyright system favors copyright holders, which is true to an extent, but once you get to the takedown stage, if you fight back with a counter notification, you basically force the copyright holder to launch a lawsuit against you. And if they don't do it within 10 days, YouTube will release the copyright claim, remove the strikes, and reinstate the channel to its original form. So this is where the whole copyright registration comes into it. Brendan couldn't file a lawsuit because he hadn't registered those episodes of The Fighter and the Kid for copyright. He didn't expect Kyle to hit back with the counter notification. He thought he could intimidate Kyle and that would be the end of it. That's why he had to scramble and register those 4 episodes of The Fighter and the Kid with the United States Copyright Office on February 22nd, and then file the lawsuit against Kyle for copyright infringement on February 28th, exactly 10 days after the initial DMCA takedown. Brendan just made the deadline. But then Kyle started to mess up. He didn't take the lawsuit seriously and he refused to file a defense. You see, he was self-representing, he didn't have a lawyer. Luckily, the judge granted him some leeway and allowed him more time to file a defense. Meanwhile, Brendan's lawyers were gunning for a summary judgment in their favor because the defendant wasn't cooperating. But Kyle didn't step up. He continued to troll the court and made almost no effort to defend himself. So the judge gave him one more chance. If you don't file your paperwork properly and lodge a defense, I'm going to go to a summary judgment in favor of Brendan Schaub. And then something magical happened. A lawyer appeared and started to help Kyle through a burner email account. Nobody knows who this lawyer is. He's a ghost lawyer. Even Brendan's legal team tried to have his identity revealed, but the judge said no. Kyle was still doing his own filing, so there was no reason to force this ghost lawyer's identity out into the open. He would go on to remain anonymous throughout the whole lawsuit. And that's when things changed for Kyle. All of a sudden, he was getting proper legal advice and he had Brendan's legal team on the back foot. See, Kyle started playing ball with the court, submitting his filings correctly, he agreed to all of the discovery, he turned up for deposition. Basically, he was cooperating with the proceedings, and Brendan's legal team quickly realized they didn't have a case. Their plan to intimidate him into settling or getting a summary judgment had failed. That's why in December of 2023, Brendan's legal team were desperately trying to get the matter out of court and back into mediation. But the defendant said, no, I don't want to go back to mediation because I refuse to agree to any of your demands. At one point, Brendan's legal team were trying to get Kyle to settle for $1. But Kyle said no, we either go to trial or I want a summary judgment. And his hardball strategy worked. The judge went in favor of Kyle in a summary judgment a few days ago. Now, for those of you wondering what a summary judgment is, it's basically just a judgment without a trial. If a party to a lawsuit files for summary judgment and the judge decides that there isn't enough of a dispute for it to go to trial, then the judge can just make a decision at that point instead of having to take it through to a full trial. And so here are some of the important parts from the judge's decision. Because Mr. Swindelles' reaction videos use the copyright works to criticize or comment upon them, rather than to supersede the work's original objects, the first fair use factor weighs in Mr. Swindelles' favor. Since Mr. Swindelles' videos are unlikely to function as substitutes for the copyrighted videos in their original and potential derivative markets, the fourth fair use factor weighs in Mr. Swindelles' favor. And then there's my favorite part. Take a look at how the judge characterized the Fighter and the Kid podcast. The works at issue in this case fall closer to the factual end of the copyright spectrum rather than the creative end. The copyrighted videos, which essentially consist of 3 men in a recording studio with a few lounge chairs and microphones recording a podcast on current events in popular culture and their personal lives, and which are basically the contemporary analog to television talk show clips, and which include reactions to the copyrighted material of others, are more factual than creative. Let's just stop for a moment and appreciate exactly what the judge is saying here, because she touches on something that I've actually mentioned in previous videos about the podcasts that I cover. She's basically saying that the Fighter and the Kid podcast is not a creative work. It's not a song, it's not a music video, it's not a movie, it's not a TV show. Therefore, it's just a contemporary talk show. And here's the best part, the podcasts include reactions to the copyrighted works of others. Now, I've said this a couple of times before that podcasts like JRE, YMH, Bad Friends, take your pick, right? They all dedicate a substantial amount of time reacting to other clips themselves on their own podcasts. I mean, there's even a meme for JRE, pull it up, Jamie, because Rogan is always telling his producer to pull up clips so they can react to them. So now, finally, we actually have a court decision that basically says, stop being a bunch of hypocrites. There's no difference between what commentary channels are doing and what you guys are doing on your podcasts. You're not producing creative work. You're just sitting around talking about stuff just like these commentary channels do. And so here we are. After a 2-year battle that ended in disaster for Brendan Schaub, not only has he blown hundreds of thousands of dollars in legal fees, but he somehow managed to make himself look like even more of a redact than he already did. The funniest part in all of this is that Brendan didn't even know it was a copyright case. This whole time he thought it was a defamation case which has separate laws and rules. Take a look at his comments on the case over the last 2 years, and then I'll break them down for you guys straight after.
On February 23rd, you text Bobby a video clip some dude put together, a random YouTuber, of that same Trash Tuesday episode, talking about us being hit on by a comic. But with the clickbait title, Bobby Lee's wife confirmed Schaub tried cheating on his wife with her. You text Bobby saying, you've been harassed for 6 years straight, and you've had it. And you're finally going, this is a direct quote. You're finally going after anyone who harasses you online, including comics, that you have spent $500,000 on monster lawyers, and that you have friends in dark places who are going to get the job done. To which Bobby says, okay, I'll talk to Kalila.
That's the thing with, like, you know, defamation of character, stuff like that. That's even like the narrative on me, which I don't talk about with, you know, I have a lawsuit against this YouTuber who's a small-time YouTuber. If you don't know the background, you're like, oh, it's this guy who's big in the space suing this smaller guy. No, I don't give a f***. If you want to criticize my fight picks or my stand-up, my podcast, that's what I'm a public figure. I signed up for that. That stuff does not bother me. But when you start slandering my name, stealing content, and creating this false narrative of cheating on my wife and doing all this crazy shit and the defamatory stuff and using content and the clickbait stuff like that for years, well, then we're not playing the same game, man. Then I have to do something. If you made an entire career off defamation, I have to do something. Several times I've had my team reach out and go, we don't want to pursue this, dude. Just stop. And he wouldn't. So what would you do? So this narrative that, oh, this bigger YouTuber is suing this other YouTuber for no reason to silence him. You know, I thought you didn't get down with cancel culture. I don't in any facet. This is different. You got to know your facts. You got to know your details. If you want to say, oh, he has the fight picks, or he's bad at English, or, you know, I didn't like his stand up. I think Louis C.K. is better. No,
it's fine.
That's all good.
That's fine.
But then when you start going down that dark road, man. You start going down, you know, these clickbaity things that are defamation of character for years, hundreds of videos. For years, well, now you got my attention. That's where this goes. I just don't talk about it. And the problem when you don't talk about it is people can jump to assumptions, go, oh, this bigger guy's trying to silence the little guy because he's critical. No, are you kidding me? I mean, people are critical. That doesn't bother me. Be critical. That's what I signed up for. But the defamation, now you got my attention. You start doing this evil stuff, I'm going to come for you, man. That's what's happening.
Yeah, when they mess with your livelihood, that's just going.
You start messing with my business, my family. Yeah. Trust me, I'm going to come for you.
Yeah, you seem to be good at, like, just focusing on what you can control and not letting the negativity get to you.
I mean, I have to. Otherwise, you know, I drive my TRX off of highway, you know, off the PCH.
Flex.
Yeah,
my TRX.
I mean, it's a Dodge truck. It's not much of a flex. You know, I didn't say like Lamborghini or nothing. It's still a truck. I'm a blue collar guy here. Yeah. So yeah, what else you can do? Stop? Quit? No, that's not me. That's never gonna happen.
But have you done anything to try to like suppress this or like get on top of it? Like it's just
What do you?
bizarre.
No, there's nothing you can do.
I mean, can you sue people? Have you tried doing any of that?
No, I mean we have a lawsuit with a guy who made like 3,000 videos. Again, if you're gonna critique stand up or my fight picks or my football picks, all good. That's what the internet's for. Now, if you're gonna go out there and defamation, like whatever, Brendan hits his kids or beats his wife, well, then you got my attention. I'm gonna come after you.
Oh,
yeah, that game I don't play, and the guy's suffering from that. So that is whatever. But the internet's always gonna internet. There's nothing you can do to combat that.
Okay, that's enough, Bupper. Take a seat and listen. I'm going to finish off with some comments addressing some of the delusions we just heard from Brendan in those clips. And Brendan, if you're watching, you can have these for free. Here's the thing. This is something that the podcast elite, Hollywood establishment, and celebrities in general don't seem to understand. We don't need your permission to criticize the things you do or the things you say. It's protected by law, not by you. That is one of the foundations of free speech in the United States. So when Brendan says things like, you can criticize my comedy, my fight picks, and my opinions, that's all good, but when it comes to anything personal or anything that hurts my feelings, that's not okay, and I'm going to come after you. The judge even said in her decision that there is a big public benefit from these commentary channels. Now, I don't know this Kyle guy, I don't watch his videos, and if I'm being honest, it's not really my thing, but let's be crystal clear about this. Brendan, we don't need your permission for anything. You will do nothing. You can do nothing. So cop it on the chin like a man and keep moving like a shark. Even your boy Rogan gave you this advice 2 years ago.
You got to remember too, Rogan's like an older brother to me. When I do anything, I call Rogan. That's how I operate.
Right.
Yeah.
I asked his advice on this, right? And then he would give me his advice how I should handle it.
When you did tell Rogan your version of events, I just want to know, for my own peace of mind, did he believe it?
I don't know. To him, it's like, you're never going to beat the internet, man. I mean,
That's good advice. So why didn't you take it 2 years ago instead of embarrassing yourself and your family and wasting hundreds of thousands of dollars only to lose a lawsuit against a guy who was self-representing with a YouTube channel that no one's ever heard of? I mean, at one point, Kyle tried to play the race card during his deposition. This is what you were up against, Bupper, and you still lost. Even after you tried to take it out of court and back into mediation. You lost your lawsuit 2 years after you filed it, and it didn't even go to trial. Who loses a lawsuit after 2 years through a summary judgment? This is easily the funniest thing you've ever done. Oh man, the sheer delusion from this guy thinking that he was being Mr. Tough Guy, drawing the line in the sand and putting everybody on notice on the internet, as well as throughout the comedy community, that he was out for blood, that he had $500,000 ready to go with his beast lawyers, ready to take on anyone who was talking smack about him. Only to lose in the most embarrassing way imaginable to a guy who relied on anonymous emails from a ghost lawyer. Honestly, someone should make this into a movie. It'd sell 10 times the tickets that The Machine did. Hey, it might actually turn a profit. So it's a sad end for Brendan, but a sobering message to the podcast elites who think they can threaten and intimidate us into silence. Beware the man with nothing to lose. Anyway, that's my full breakdown of Bupper's failed lawsuit. I hope you guys enjoyed it. Big shout out to my regulars. Thanks for watching. You always turn up for me, and that's why I love you guys. And if you haven't subscribed yet, consider jumping on board so you don't miss out on any of my uploads. That's it from me. I'll catch you in the next one.
I'm a shark when it comes to business.